everybody, change the scenery, I know. In today's video, we are going to be working with resin. I'm going to show you kind of my process of how I get ready, how I do everything. So it may be a long video, and I'm probably going to do a lot of fast forwarding through it, and I may end up doing some voiceovers. So bear with me on that. I'm at the stage right now that I'm actually getting things prepared. So let me move my tripod a little bit so you can kind of see right here in my messy kitchen that I've got things kind of set up to a degree at least. I'm at the point where like I'm doing like pre-coloring. Like this is, for example, this is a dragon mold that I took some pressed powdered eyeshadow. And instead of using the brush that they use, I use one of these, just like this, just a little bitty brush like that. I'm hoping that doesn't fall. And I quite literally, I just take whatever color that I choose. So right now I'm doing this kind of gold color right here. And I've already done that dragon, but I'm going to work on this mold right here. And I'm going to color the mold itself so that when I pour the resin kind of grabs a hold of that color, and it will still leave the piece transparent, at least to a degree. And so if you can see, and I know it's kind of hard, here in a minute I will flip things over so you can see what I'm doing. I got a bug on me. So you'll be able to see a little bit more of what I'm doing. I'm quite literally, I'm just picking up some of the eyeshadow, and which you could probably do this with mica powders and whatever else that you may have. And just literally, just like a woman would with eyeshadow, just brush it on. I try to get it on the sides and in every nook and cranny that I absolutely can. So that it turns out so much better. And with this one being so small and having so many little things, I will have to kind of do like that and kind of open it up a little bit to get the color into all of those little spaces. Okay. So if you have any small molds kind of like this, you may want to consider that. Just so that, you know, you don't have a clear spot here and, oh, it just kind of messed up, you know. And which you can still actually just color your resin the same as normal. And that works really good. Now, luckily with the dragon mold that I did, I wanted to actually give the talons, his face, and the tip of his tail a slightly different color than I gave his body. I gave his body kind of a... I gave the dragon's body kind of this dark green right here, and I gave his head the darker, kind of a brown color, just because I wanted that contrast. And I'm hoping, we'll see how it turns out. I'm hoping it turns out really good. This will be the first time that I do something quite like that, using different colors on a mold. So we will see. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed for me. But I think now I'm going to go ahead and so you see how I've done so far with the coloring, and I'll even kind of open it up a little bit so you can kind of see getting in all those little nooks and crannies and everything. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to flip this around. I'm just going to let it record, and I'm going to work, okay? So any questions at all at any point, please leave those in the comments below. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. H&S Designs Now. And I also sell things, so we'll be back. So now that I have my molds colored that I want to have different colors to them, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get my resin. I've already got it in a pot with just some hot tap water. Don't boil it, nothing like that. But and this is actually the first time that I'm taking my resin and I'm actually warming it up. Most of the time I don't, but because it's getting slightly chillier and it's getting towards the end of time to be able to use resin, or at least the time of year is what I mean to say. That's why I wanted to try to do it. Now, if you notice in this one, I have, I poured glitters in there, which I'm hoping I'd gotten on camera. I was trying to, I tried. But what I'm going to try to do with this one is make a faux druzy. And I really wanted to have more of a chunkier glitter, but I didn't have any. So I used what I had. And if it caught it on camera, I actually looked in this pack. This glitter is actually much finer than the glitter that I used. The glitter that I used was out of this, which I had received, I'd gotten at Walmart. So if you notice also that on my table and then also up here, I'm going to use my little deep freezer as my top. I've already lined it with parchment paper. If you use the slick side up, I guess the waxy side, it actually does not let the resin stick to it. So this can be your friend. I get this right here. It's the Dollar Tree. I like the Dollar Tree a lot. But so I'm going to go ahead. I would suggest you put on gloves. You use gloves when you're working with resin. I am out of gloves. So therefore, I'm just going to be doing this without gloves. Shame on me. So I do have my cups ready. I don't have the typical measuring cups that you would normally see people use with resin, to where they can actually properly measure out their resin. But I have these little dollar store brand Dixie cups, and it's got the little design on it, and I just kind of use that as my measuring. Yeah, something like that. And I've got my colors set out. I haven't picked out the colors that I want to use yet, which I probably should do. I know with these, I wanted to go with, because see, that's the thing. I'm going to be using different colors. So, I don't know. Which, if you're curious, if you don't know about it, these right here are mica powders. And they create kind of a pearly look. And it's really, really pretty. I mean, absolutely can be gorgeous. And you see, I have all different shades and colors and stuff. I have a smaller pack here. I've gotten both of these on Amazon. So if you're looking for those, they're readily available there. The reason why I have two different size cups, I have a larger cup and I have a smaller cup. These are going to be what I measure my resin with, and then I'm going to pour both into this cup to stir. So almost all resin that you will find, with the exception of UV resin, is going to be a part A and a part B. And that's what I'm using. I have art resin right now. It was kind of on the expensive side, so if you cannot afford it, there are cheaper options. And I have some on the way, actually. I'd ordered not long ago. And I just pour it out. I poured however much I'm wanting to do, which just kind of eyeball it, I guess. However many molds you want to use. Eyeball how much to use. I've never quite figured that out yet. But I actually filled this one with the part A up to, let's see, where's that? Right here. So, let's see. Was it that one? No. This one. To this mark on my cup. So I will put the exact same amount of the part B, the hardener, into this one, a separate one. And then I do keep the first part, the first one available to me so I can make sure I measure out the correct amount, because you do want to get the exact same amount. Which I know there have been tons and tons and tons of people who have shown how to use resin. This is just, I'm just showing you. That's all it is. So now that I've got both ready, what you can do is you can mix your colors into each separate one before mixing together. I'm not. I'm just mixing it together as clear. So you want to take your stir stick or whatever you may have. I do try to get out as much of the resin from the first cups as possible, so that it will be as close to the correct and equal amount as you can get. Which I know you can't really see what I'm doing very much, but you have a good idea. There are other people who have done a much better job with recording and all that than I have. So I've pretty well got my cup empty. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour the other part in there. And again, I'm just going to scrape and get absolutely as much of this out as I can, so that it is of equal proportions. Because if you get it wrong, I have had a few times when I've done resin pieces and my molds, they didn't quite cure all the way correctly, because somehow I didn't have my proportions correct. You have to have it almost exactly correct. And even though it says equal portions, I know I've seen Yvonne Williams, she measured it by weight. And I do notice that, though, that the part A, at least for this ice resin, does weigh a little bit more, slightly different than the part B does. So don't do it by weight. Do it by literally how much you have. So that way you don't mess up. So now that we've done this, now is when we want to stir, and we want to stir for 2 minutes. So I'm looking at my time and I'm stirring. And when you stir, you don't want to stir too vigorously, but you do want to stir well enough that it does do a pretty good job, which I will actually tilt this down. Might be better if you had a different angle, but this is the angle that I have right now. And on occasion, you do want to, whatever stir stick you have, which I just use popsicle sticks, unused, brand new ones, scrape the stir stick off and then dip it back in. You do want to kind of also scrape the sides, and I do try to get into all the little spaces of the cup so that it gets mixed really, really well, because otherwise it could mess up. So again, if you don't have gloves, please get some and use some. I was going to stop and get some, and the store I was going to stop at was closed. So I'm just going to be extra careful, okay? Now as you're stirring, you will notice that you're going to have bubbles in it, and that's okay. It's to be expected. What you want to do after you stir for your 2 minutes is you want to let it sit to let the bubbles rise up to the top, to give it time so that you have a better cast. It looks much better. Now if you want to work on something where you want the bubbles in it, and I've seen people use resin and they specifically want those bubbles in there, it can turn out absolutely gorgeous. So it's all on your preference and what you want to do, how you want to do it, all that kind of good stuff. So I'm right almost at my 2 minutes, if I can get this fly to stay off of me. So here is my time. I'm going to scrape my stir stick so it does not make a mess on anything. And I see that I have resin on my hands, so I have to wash my hands right here, right now. There's not really a set time to let your resin sit, but if you have a more of a polyurethane resin, you have no time to let it sit, because it will set. I think its casting time is something like 5 minutes or something. Let's see. Now that I've got my hands washed. And something else as well is, while I'm doing this, is you want to think about what colors do you want to use. Do you want to use an ink? Do you want to use mica powders? I do want something, for certain things, I want it to be clear. Some things I want it to be heavily colored. So that's going to kind of depend. So take my stir stick, I'm going to move that out of the way. And I'm actually going to divide this up into a few different ones. And again, if you can't see what I'm doing, I apologize. All right. Doing my best here. So I'm actually going to move this back a little bit. There we go. All right, so I've got my 3 cups, and then I've still got a little bit left in this cup, but not much. So in this cup, I think I'm going to go with these. Some of these. Now, I do highly recommend that you use gloves when you're using inks, because they will leak and they will stain. And then whatever brand of ink that I purchased here, I do not recommend, simply because if you look really good right here, there's nothing written on the label. There was at one point, but before I got it, it rubbed off. So I have no clue what the true actual shade of color is out of these. I can only make a guess. So if you're going to get any kind of colors, oh, that's a nice purple. I suggest that you do a little bit of research and you look at what you got. I think this is more of a black. I haven't used this one yet. Have to open it. Yes, that's black. Good, 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 good. And that's the one I'm wanting. So I'm going to put, there we go. That's all I wanted. No, I'm going to do that. There we go. So now that I've got my color in there, okay, you can kind of see it a little bit. Now I'm going to stir just enough to get that color mixed in pretty well. And I only did about 1.5 drops because I don't want this to be a really deep dark color. And it's still kind of, you see it's turning out to be a fairly deep dark color. Although when I do this, you see it's kind of clearing off a little bit, but that's only because there's only so much left. So that one's going to be really, really nice. Okay. And I'm going to take this, scoop this stuff over so that you can see. And I'm going to pour this into this mold right here that has my black glitter in it. I'm actually going to stop this and I'm going to flip it around. All right, now that I've got this flipped around for you, make sure I'm on camera, yes. So I'm going to put it into this mold with the black. And this is more of a brown, but that's okay. I'm just going to let it kind of drip off a little bit, very slowly, very carefully. Because I don't want the resin to like overwhelm the glitter that's in there, even though it probably will. Because this is a first for me, making a faux druzy, which I'm actually going to pour. And that's it. That's all I'm putting in there. Alright, so you see how that is. Now, I got a little bit right here. I'm not going to worry about that. It's okay. Now, what sucks is that I still have plenty of resin left in my cup. I'll use that for something else. So I'm going to set that aside. And for right now, very carefully, going to move that up there. Whoops. I hit the leg. I'm sorry. Okay, next, I'm going to go ahead and do these. So I'm going to leave these clear. Or, yeah. I'm going to leave these clear. Yeah. And let it color its own. Let it color itself. Now with this one, especially, I'm going to have to more use my stir stick so I can really get into those cracks and crevices and everything properly, because otherwise it may not. That, and take my stick and kind of move the resin about a little bit. Get it to go where I want it to. I need just a little bit right here. Alright. Now that one looks like it's done, I think. This one's going to be very tricky to pick up. Alright, and I want to make sure... Yes, okay, I've got that one finished. Now I'm going to do the dragon. I can't wait to see how this one turns out, especially using different colors to color the mold with. He's going to be pretty. Now, even though I divided up my resin into, what, 4 small batches, if I need more, considering that I haven't colored all of it yet, you know, I can use some out of other cups. I wanted to divide it up that way if I decided to color one of my resins, I could still have that option. Now, if you notice right here, I actually got some resin on the top where there shouldn't be any, but that right now is okay, because it'll kind of sink, so to speak, and kind of collapse in a little bit. And I think I've got him filled. Yeah, I've got him filled up, so he's done. We'll do these next, and I think actually with these we'll use this dark colored resin especially for this mold, and we'll see how that turns out using a colored resin as well as the eyeshadow powder on the mold itself. Try to get it to fill in really good. So again, I can't stress enough, if you're doing this, please use gloves. I'm really wishing right now I had gloves because I've got resin all over my fingers. Get it to go in there, get it to go in there. A little crack right there. Alright. So, and I want to see how this one will turn out with a dark color behind it. Now, I do want to tell you, you do not absolutely have to fill up to the top your resin, your molds. You can leave it a thinner piece if you want to. I'm filling mine up just because I like because these are quite a bit smaller of molds that I'm using. and so they don't take as much. But I do have some molds that are larger, and they do take more resin, and so I probably, if I use those, I probably would end up uh, only putting so much into it, you know. And I'm gonna go ahead. I said I need a little bit more. And if you notice with this one, I'm actually leaving the resin clear. I'm using one of the clear ones, and that's just so that I want to see how it's going to turn out. Okay, letting it fall in there. This one has a lot of crevices. This one's going to be really pretty. I've made this mold before. It's really pretty. These crosses are gorgeous. And if you see right here, I spilled some resin on my table. Luckily, that's why I have the parchment paper sat out on the table, so that just in case something like that happens. Because it's bound to happen. I mean, you almost can't avoid it. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one. Nope, nope, nope. Missed a little spot. There we go. There we go. Now I've got it all. Alright, so carefully. I do not suggest picking them up and moving them. I'm doing that because I don't have any other choice. So I'm not going to use that mold. And you see I haven't washed this one. I'm not going to worry about it. It's not going to be a big deal. But I am going to color this one. I think I'm going to use this purple, or actually I'm going to use this fuchsia on this one. And probably, I bet the reason why this darker mold turned out like it did was because of I didn't use as much resin in it. I bet that if I had used, if I had more resin that I was actually casting, one drop probably would have given me the look that I wanted. Alright. And all I did was I put a little, just a little bit of that fuchsia mica powder, and so there's the look of it. Looks really pretty. Looks really pretty. So I'm gonna very carefully again fill it in. I'm actually gonna move that there because I realized I wasn't on camera enough. And just very carefully filling it in. Now with these cute little bracelet molds, I've seen people actually use things in it. Like they'll take little, just little like trinkets or whatever, and they will place it in there, and then they will pour their mold into it, their resin into it, and they turn out really cute. I actually had one time taken some seed beads that I had found at the Dollar Tree, and I thought, well, that's small enough, it'll fit in there, and that's, you know, that's really cute. And I filled that puppy up with those seed beads. I actually had a cute little design going and everything. It was really cute. Filled up the mold with resin. I did my best to make sure that it kind of settled down into the cracks and crevices and everything, and it didn't quite work out. So if you want to use something in your mold, please make sure you are patient enough that all the cracks and crevices, everything is properly filled, especially on a mold kind of like this where you can get air pockets very easily. I'm just continuing to fill, because it's such a small area that I have access to, that I'm just taking my time and I'm just letting it fill up. And in the process of doing this, actually also gives the air bubbles a chance to rise up as well. In which anybody that happens to be curious, I do all of this 100% on my own. I don't have anybody stationing the camera, working the camera, none of that. I don't have anybody, you know, I edit my own things, all of it. So what you see is what you get, essentially. And I see that I am running out of this one. But that's okay, because I've got one more. Oops. Landed in the wrong spot. Just kind of move it over till it can get in there. Alright, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and, where to go? Right here. So I'm going to get just a little bit more. Just a little. Okay, so just a little, like I said. Not much. Stir it in there. So now from here on, I'm out of resin, minus what little bit's left in the large cup. So everything else that I cast, if I cast anything else, will either be fuchsia or brown or black, whatever color that is. No set time to stir with this. It's just stirring until it's mixed well enough. And I actually do have some UV resin ordered on the way. Can't wait to get that. Oh, I'm so excited. Because it will definitely broaden the work that I actually can do. I'm super, super, duper excited about that. Just about got it filled. Still need some more though. I am trying to fill this mold up about as much as I can, but I may run out. I'm hoping I don't. So don't quite have it filled up all the way yet. It's getting there, but it's not quite. And you can see it can take a while to get all of this done, seriously. Just because that's the nature of working with resin. It takes a while. Not just the curing time either. It's just, you know, getting prepped, getting it all set up, getting it mixed, pouring it in and everything. So now I'm pretty sure. Alright, I have this filled. Yay, finally. And I'm going to set this aside. So I'm going to very carefully pick this up. Set it up here. So now with what little bit is left, I will go ahead, pour this fuchsia in on top of the pink glitter. Trying to get as much of it as I can out. Because anyone who works with resin knows that this stuff it can be expensive. You know, you don't want to waste it. So, all right, so that's about all I'm going to get to do. So I'm going to go get my little thing. Be right back. And I say my little thing, and I mean my stick candle lighter. Just to get over it and get the bubbles. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to come along all of this with my stick candle lighter. This is just to pop any bubbles that have risen up to the surface. Okay. I see I have a few on that one. A few on that one as well. I'm actually going to move this in a little bit. And again, I do apologize for the angles and the look of everything. There it went. You know, again, I do all of this on my own. So I don't have, you know, a camera crew. None of that kind of stuff. So it's just me, myself, and I. And I do the best I can. You don't want to set the fire on there for too long, but you do want to make sure you get bubbles popped. And if you have to, you do like this. You get down in there and you look really close, because then bubbles are going to be tiny. And so that is, I'm going to move this for a second, and that is it for this portion of the video. And in a day or two, this all will need to have 24 hours to cure. Okay, so if you cannot completely leave it alone for at least 24 hours, don't bother. But in 24 hours, we will unmold and we will see the results. And we will see you then. Bye-bye. All right, guys, so now that our resin pieces have cured, I'm going to zoom this out a little bit. There we go. I'm going to demold them, and I wanted to do that in front of you guys. And so here is the dragon. If you can kind of tell, it kind of went over here in a couple of little spots, but it's okay. And this is literally how easy it is. And look at that. Oh, that's gorgeous. So the colors didn't quite do like I was hoping it would. It was supposed to be more of a green for his body and more and like a brown, almost like a gold for his head, which you can kind of see that a little bit, but it's just not much. And you know, it looks nice though. I still love it, and I would have to clean that up, you know, and everything, and a little bit over here. But that still looks really nice. And then there's some right here that I would have to clean up. But this still looks nice. So there's that one. And now we're going to unmold this. Okay. So I see I have a little bit right here. But that's not bad. Okay. And alright, and look at there. Only thing is, because this one turns out so thin that it's flexible. And I'm not a big fan of that, but there's not much I can do about it. And look at how that turned out. So it did run over on over the star a little bit more than what I'd like. And then on the moon some too, but that's still not bad. I still love how that one turned out. That is gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Oh. Alright, so I'm curious how these drusies, the faux drusies, turned out. Have to be careful because actually, just gonna knock that one out right there, and that way, It's gone. I ain't gonna worry about making a mess. I can pop this one right out. Let's see how it turned out. Oh, that's a shame. It didn't druzy at all. That's a shame. Yeah, it just kind of is in there. It was worth a shot, you know. It's still a pretty piece. This one's going to be the same way. Now, this one, if you see right there, it ended up getting a little bit of bubble in it. So I didn't get it all the way. Now, that one almost kind of druzied up. But just, I guess where that glitter is, it wasn't a thick enough glitter. It didn't do right, and that's okay. That's still really pretty piece, though. That's still really pretty. So now, how did our crosses do? Oh, that's really nice. I really like that one. That one turned out really nice. See how this one is. Ooh, now you see, look, it's got that kind of dark bronzy golden color and then black, and you can kind of see that on the side a little bit. I love that. That's gorgeous. I like that one. Here's the other one. Now that one had quite a bit of spillage, and I didn't mean for it to, but I do like how that one looks and turned out. Here's the other. Okay, and so now, woo! I moved the camera. Sorry about that. Ah, it's wanting to. There we go. Okay, so here's the bracelet, the big ticket item. Let's see, and this can be a little bit tricky to get out all the way in one piece and working well. And I was thinking that was a different bracelet, but that's okay, because it's still really nice. I would have to do a little bit of sanding because it concaved in, but that's okay. Little bubble spot right there, I think. But otherwise, that's nice. And I like the coloring of the resin and all that. A couple of dark spots right there. But otherwise, it's pretty nice. I really like how that turned out. Now, this was the leftover. I realized I had some leftover, so I'm like, I'll just throw it in to one of these. That still had a little bit of coloring in it, and that actually turned out really nice. I really liked how that one looks. That one's just a regular. Looks pretty. And then the final piece is how that one looks. Alright, so there is all of our resin casting pieces. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned a lot with me, especially on those druzies. Those faux druzies is what it's supposed to be. But anyways, I hope you guys have a great day. Please like, share, subscribe, comment if you have any thoughts or suggestions on anything. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.